Hey folks, my name is Richard Porter. I wanted to record a quick video. I'm embracing constraints. I'm 10 minutes from my next meeting, but I've been doing a lot of helping folks out with resume reviews, including folks that are looking to apply to MBA programs, folks that have already completed their MBA and they're looking to be hired into product companies or looking for internships. Um, and even one of my good friends who is an interpreter with me in Afghanistan who's been looking to reframe his experience and position himself well for another role. And so there's a lot of themes that I've been noticing that I may be able to help contribute. All things that I've been taught. I did not grow up learning how to write resumes. It wasn't something that was covered in undergrad. I was very fortunate that when I studied for my MBA at UNC Keenan Flagler, they put a lot of thought and effort into teaching us how to do it. And I have been the beneficiary of a lot of focused classroom time, a lot of generous peer feedback, and a ton of red penning and iterating on my resume. So I thought I'd use it to drive a conversation here and give you some of the feedback that I've learned and that usually is helpful for other people. Three themes. Number one, strong action verbs that align with what you want. That starts everything off. Number two, use your space very well. And number three, always use quantified metrics as your punctuation. Think of them almost like how you end a sentence, a period or a comma. Um, as somebody scans a resume, they're going to be looking for those metrics. And the job of the resume, the purpose of it really is to just provide a quick summary in order to drive conversations. It's to get you into the interview and give kind of a framework and a guidepost, a map to the conversation that you can have with an interviewer to consider whether or not you're a good fit for the role that they're offering. So let me share my screen and we're going to use my resume as it exists now to do this discussion. So remember, the themes are strong action verbs to lead everything off, use your space, and quantify metrics. So I've indulged myself with one little rhetorical flourish that I was not taught here. I grow powerful people. It's a strong statement of what my personal mission is. You could do this. You may not want to. I feel the luxury of being able to put up a flourish like that, but that is not something I was taught. It's just something that I decided to do. Um, right at the top, you want an email, you want a phone number with a voicemail, and you want your LinkedIn URL so that people can follow up on this. Anything that's a URL, I make a live link because I'm a modern sort of person. Most of the time, my resume doesn't live in a Word doc like I'm using for this demonstration. It's usually in a Google Doc, and I send people links to it. Um, and I would suggest not including things like a physical address. That really isn't relevant in the modern era for most people, especially, and I should have said this at the beginning, I'm going to be focusing on product management in particular because I'm not an expert in the others. So right at the top, you can see I'm using these different font sizes to kind of use the space like we've talked about and draw your eye. So right at the top, you see who I am and what I'm saying, and then we bust right into experience because that's probably the most relevant thing that a person reviewing my resume cares about. And you can see I put the employer, the location of the employment, and the duration. And I've also made it simple. This is a trick I picked up at Amazon. Um, whenever you provide a metric, it's very valuable to reduce the amount of thinking a person needs to do. You want to put the actual number and the percentage if you can. And in the case of time, you might put the duration, the period of time, but also sum it up for them so that they don't have to do any mental math. And then you can see I've chosen words very deliberately. Every single bullet is going to start with an action verb, co-led. And that may be the weakest one I have. And I wouldn't necessarily suggest other people do that. But I did it because I'm making a very ambitious claim here about me contributing to the increase in IBM's rank in Forbes best companies to work for from number 11 to number 2. And I don't feel like I can take full credit for leading that change, but I can say I co-led my peers in the experienced team, and here's how I did it in order to contribute to this move. And then you can see collaborated, created, guided, analyzed, led, collaborated, and mentored. So sometimes people, in order to move fast through resumes, are just going to anchor on this left column by the bullets and read down these verbs. And you want that to tell a story. Led, managed, led, facilitated, initiated, mentored. Um, and I'm trying to, with this, tell a story that I want someone to take. And then each of these bullets you'll see is punctuated with a metric from 11 to 2, 36 plus products, 25 plus hours of content, one line statement. And then 4,000 yearly active users, 200 million in spend, 127 countries. I use M instead of million. I'm working with my space. Remember theme number 2. I'm always trying to use my space. And along with using space, that includes both using the entire line as much as possible. You'll see it's rare that I don't take up the full line. And sometimes when I'm really getting prepped, I'll even make sure that this lines up better by adding a little bit more into it so that it is a little more visually pleasing and maximizes the space. Then you use a little bit of a gap to set something off. See, IBM is this whole first 3/4 of the page, and then Amazon is this next block, and then United States Southern Command is the next block. And I have allowed myself the use of 2 pages. The guidance I got taught in my MBA training on this was if you have under 10 years of professional working experience, you should really constrain yourself to a single page to be concise with it. Once you've exceeded that, you may indulge yourself in allowing yourself 2 pages to communicate the value. But I've already compressed a lot of bullets that I used to have from my military service down into others. And you can see here I've collapsed 5 years into one paragraph and 3 years in the next most relevant one. So this used to be a larger section. Then I have my education. Now, if I had just completed my MBA instead of having gotten professional working experience since then, I might move that to the top if it's more relevant. What you want to position there is the thing that is most relevant to the hiring manager. If you've just finished grad school and you think that you're going to be a part of a massive pipeline hiring for that, you may want to put that at the top. But generally, you want to put experience there, especially if experience is the most recent thing you have. So I always make sure that I've got some metrics in there as well, and that I mention some of my most significant involvements when I was at school, um, just to be able to make conversation about it and to provide a little bit of quantification to it. And then this additional column, I'm very passionate about including this because this is your opportunity to be more than just your awesome work accomplishments in your school. This is where you get to prompt a conversation and be kind of a neat person to talk to. So I have here that I blitz scaled a Tech for Good volunteer organization as the product manager for it. And this is something that I'm particularly passionate about. I'd love to speak about with a hiring manager. I started blogging on my own at a domain that I own, and I did some guest posts on other people's blogs, but I did it myself on my own self-hosted open source WordPress site to make myself learn a little bit of the technical underpinnings. Um, if you're getting awards, you probably should mention those. And it can be difficult to take credit sometimes for folks, particularly military veterans often want to give away the credit to the teams that they led, and that's understandable. The way that I have found to reconcile that is if you got an award, that's a fact, and you should put it in here so that they can become aware of it. Another place where I sometimes will take on a little bit of the credit of the team is recognizing that I do provide mentorship to the people that I end up leading. And in so doing, I contribute to their own results. And so I mention those here in the final bullet in all of my paragraphs, because it's just a thing that I always do. And it's a thing that should be valuable to a company if it's going to be a good fit for me. If it's not something they really want, if they're not that interested in someone that does mentorship and helps to emphasize that, then I'm probably not the right fit for it. And then here at the end, interests. I'm very passionate about including this because you are a complete person and this is your chance to tell people about that. Now, I do subtly use this as an opportunity to talk about things that are interesting, but still a little bit related to my work. So meditation and fitness and family, these are all important to me. And I think they make up important aspects to a business professional and a product manager. And I have a link to all kinds of personality tests and areas to improve that I have. That's something that I'm interested in. I have lots of podcasts that I love listening to. These tend to be oriented on product management. I mentioned here that I chug them at 3x speed. That's kind of an interesting quirk. So it could drive a conversation. Why do you do that? How do you do that? What's going on there? It's just something that I've picked up over time by slowly increasing the speed. It really lets me get through a lot of content fast. And then finally, I mentioned what I like to read. I like to read sci-fi or self-reflection nonfiction. I hate the term self-help, but I give a few of the examples of my favorite. After On, some sci-fi, Start With Why, Mindset and Radical Candor as some self-reflection. Now, I like other sci-fi, but After On is an awesome book about technology and product management that I'd love to have a conversation with a hiring manager about. So hopefully this helps you understand my approach to building a resume to help generate the conversation, to provide a map. And just like a map, it kind of provides that visual approach to where we're going to take the conversation. It provides some signposts. It provides some punctuation. It has those strong action verbs and it uses the space. Hope this helps. And happy to chat more if this is impactful for you and you'd like a little bit more conversation about it. Take care.